We're neighbors, Ember.
Ember is the queen.
What's up, Ember?
I see you, Ember.
I only have eyes for Ember.
But hey, Ember is hot. Hello, everyone. Welcome to our very special episode on the birds and the bees and the fishes in the seas, but no frogs. Alas. We don't,
No frogs.
I suppose we could do frogs because frog reproduction is weird too, but that's not what I'm getting at today. Today, ta-da! I'm joined by Will and Kelly. Yay. And a rumor is that a dinosaur person may be by soon. Not the Hoven flavored dinosaur person.
Oh my god.
That's what we
Yeah.
like. Okay, cool. Okay.
Yeah,
So what,
someone we like.
I was on the phone this morning and he kept doing his Hoven impression and I could not. He was killing me with that Hoven impression. It was hilarious. Next time you see Seth, tell him to do his Hoven impression. It's awesome.
Indeed.
Mark does a good one.
Thank you all so much for joining us. We're doing this is a difficult one. I'm having trouble focusing on one thought at a time. So bear with me. My brain is malfunctioning like crazy recently due to some things that have happened, but that's neither here nor there. In no particular order, later today, I'm going to be over on a show with AJ. AJ's new show called Critical Call. And we're going to be like taking calls and questions about sex and gender and all of those assorted things. So if you have questions, I mean, Thursday is the day for it, apparently. But this show I scheduled this before AJ asked me on, so it's a weird coincidence. But I digress. Today we're covering there's a bunch of biologists who are very wrong for political reasons. Like they're aggressively anti-science about their own field for political reasons. Colin Wright, Richard Dawkins, Jerry Coyne, that other guy. Steven Pinker, there it is. I knew my brain had it in there somewhere. A few others. They have this whole thing about how all biologists consider sex to just be gametes. It's just reproduction, nothing else. That's not how that works. It's not ever how that's worked. And as Forrest has famously said, there are a whole bunch of different ways, 6 or 7 different ways biologists do categorize sex. None of them have only 2 exclusive options. And today we're diving into the gametes because that seems to be the final hold fast of the extreme bigots. Is it's gametes. You either produce sperm or you produce eggs. Now, first of all, that's circular, and we're going to explain why later. But those aren't the only 2 options, strangely enough. Go figure. And as it happens, we can demonstrate this with birds and bees and fishes, which fits that whole, we're going to have the birds and the bees talk with the bigots, but we're also adding fishes because the fishes are fun. But first, I want to start. Everyone agrees that there's not just 2 options because hermaphroditic organisms exist. What do you call a thing that can produce both if there's only male and only female? You know? Like everyone admits this is a thing, but then the bigots will immediately fall back. Well, you know, in like vertebrate animals and it's different in the vertebrates, you know. So we're already into special pleading as well as assuming our conclusion sort of deal. But whatever. Cool. There's asexual critters. There and there are fucking lizards that can do the parthenogenesis. Like there's a species of all female lizards. How do we know they're female if it's just gametes? Because what other gamete do we have to compare their gamete to? How can you tell which one is the smaller gamete when there's only one gamete? Whatever. C'est la vie. It's a whole fucking thing. There's a lot. But before we begin, I'm doing everything in a weird order. Somebody mentioned queer earlier. I'm very slowly making progress on the queer flag. That one is up next as far as the main Pride collection, because I need the Q, so I have like the whole letter acronym so I can make an ad and start promoting the damn things. I don't know when the hell I'll have time to make the ad, but the queer flag is up next. I had severe executive dysfunction yesterday, and so I only got, I don't know, theoretically I'm half done, but I'm probably going to have to redo everything I did yesterday because it's shit and I hate it. This is what happens when I try to make myself do stuff when I'm like, whatever, it's not important. I'm also making progress on the PTSD flag. As you may recall, if you're new, first of all, subscribe. But also, if you may recall, because the space pride flags have been appealing to so many people, PTSD doesn't actually have a flag. They have a ribbon. There's no flag because people are like, well, why would I be proud? Why would I have pride over having PTSD or see PTSD? Because you survived, bestie.
Mm-hmm.
That takes strength. That takes. Oh, Aunt Jer has a video of slug porn. My brain is made of squirrels today. I would absolutely love a video of slug porn. Yeah.
Oh, so you're functioning. So you're functioning on the same level as Dr. Kip.
Dr. Kip slug porn? I don't want
No,
Dr.
no,
Kip
I
porn.
say you're no, you said squirrel. I said so you're functioning on the same level as Dr. Kip today. She's in squirrel mode.
Okay, it's possible. I don't know. I just work here, folks. But right, PTSD flag. I'm making progress. I had a thought. I had a lot of thoughts of clarity. I had a thought about black holes yesterday that I was in the middle of my physical therapy and I had to stop. But my thoughts are all over the place.
I liked it.
But anyway, things are making progress. I'm not sure if any of that was fucking clear. Oh well.
Black holes.
It's fine.
It's okay. It's the morning. I'm not awake yet, so
yeah. It's been a rough.
You got only a few hours before you got to get woke though.
Yeah. All right. Before we dig into things, what are y'all's what are your thoughts aside from my pro-science advocacy position? What are your thoughts on sexes? Are there only two? Are there more than two? Are there fewer than two?
No, I never thought there were.
All these.
I mean, when I was younger, I think that's what I was taught. But once I started looking and researching, I realized that it wasn't. But I'm gonna go on another little tangent. Why, when they teach us sex education, they always say birds and the bees? I never understood that either. Maybe that was me. This is what they called it that. What? That made no sense to me as a kid. But yeah, I mean, here's the thing. People actually, when scientists come in and they show you research, how, that what you've learned is not true. And people still don't want to change. They still want to believe what they were taught years ago. And everything is developing as time goes on. I don't understand people. That's my thought process on it.
Yeah, I mean, sorry.
Just biblically, right? Everybody's like, well, the Bible says this, the Bible says this. The Bible says that women come from men's ribs. So in what universe does a sperm and egg have anything to do with it? That's not biblical reproduction, bestie. That's not how it's done,
and they came
according to the Bible.
We ain't never made another person from the dirt again.
I mean, obviously, I was taught, a man and woman was only that. But I remember as a kid, and I say kid, I was probably early teens or something. There was, and I was even a documentary fiend back then. I do have a clip saying that you eat sticks, so there is that. I remember seeing a documentary. I remember seeing a documentary about trans people, and this was back in the 90s. And the only thing I remember about it is one of them was trying the trans man was trying to get treatment for, I think, like ovarian cancer or something, and was like ran into a shit ton of problems with it. And I remember sitting there as like a 13-year-old being like, what's the problem here? Like, I don't understand the issue here. Like, even at that age, I don't think that at that age I understood that was a spectrum, but I'm like, okay, like, so what? Like, what's the issue? Like, I don't see what the issue with somebody getting healthcare is. Like, who cares? And it's one of those things. It's like the whole.
It's like, you have a beard, no ovary care for you because of my prescriptive understanding of definitions, which is dumb. And they're like, well, if you do have ovaries, then you're clearly a freak and you should also die. And that's the problem. Like, we can't say, oh, you have ovaries, you need treatment for your ovaries. No, it's, oh, you have ovaries? Well, that makes you not fit in the boxes I've imagined, and so you should die. Holy shit. That is a threat to civilization.
Oh no, when I was younger. Oh, sorry, go ahead, Leo.
No, I was just gonna say, like, even at that age, like, I was just like, I've never understood the panic around that, because like, one of the things is like, people always they're like, well, we don't want men in the women's bathroom. You're going to have men in the women's bathroom if you make people use the quote unquote correct bathroom. Like, you're going to have trans men using the women's bathroom. That's what you're going to get.
Yeah, if you force people into a gendered space based on the sex they were born with, you're confusing sex and gender.
They never think about that. They never think about that.
They do. They
well, yeah.
Well,
some do. Some of the people I've talked to don't. They're just like, oh, that exists. I'm like, yeah, that's a thing.
Yeah, because if a trans man walks into a woman's room, the fucking red hat biker bros are going to murder him. You know, even though, like, we saw with that one trans man who, like, dressed up in the pink dress and shit and was like, well, the state's making me go in here, I'm gonna make a scene about it. And sure enough, everyone was pissed. Because people don't. This is the thing with fascism. They want rules, but no consequences. Like, we're going to do stupid things, but no consequences. We're just not doing consequences. No. And it drives me fucking batty. But trans people,
gender-free bathrooms where the stalls go up to the top to the bottom, so you can't see nothing. And they mad about that too.
How can I peek at people if you close all the bathrooms off? It's like that meme, right? Like the person with the head sticking under the door, and it says what transphobes think trans people do, and then the next frame is the same thing, and it says what transphobes are actually doing.
They peeing.
But trans people and sex is not the same thing. The only reason that bigot former biologists like Dawkins and Wright make this argument is they think they can invalidate the existence of trans people by saying, oh, well, you know, sex is just gametes. But of course, remember, the only reason they're on gametes is because they've been pushed out of every other position they had, you know, from anatomy to hormone levels to genetics. Every single one they've been pushed out of because there isn't just two. So now they're on gametes, and it's their final fallback, and that doesn't work either. And today we're going to explain why. But to be clear, trans people and sex, gender and sex, not actually the same thing. Don't let the bigots confuse you. Okay, let me see here. I need to... Right, so we started with... brief mention of our hermaphroditic invertebrate friends who are they're so much fun. They're delightful. Does their species only have one sex, or does it have two sexes but everyone is both? Like, already this prescriptivist understanding. It's so important to remember when we're dealing with categories that are based on definitions. We made up the definitions. Nature has no compulsion to comply with the thing we made up. You know, We've got it
Mhm.
backwards. We're
I
trying
heard
to
about the
describe nature.
clownfish. How the clownfish is. If there's no woman, then one of them turns into the female.
Yeah.
Sort of, yeah. Clownfish have sequential hermaphrodism, which is
Okay.
they're each sex but at different stages, rather than
Okay,
like our
I
slug
got you.
friends that are both at the same time. Clownfish, if I recall correctly, they start male, and then when the biggest one, the female, dies, then the next biggest one turns female, which is a
Okay.
neat trick. But
Yeah.
it also shows that's another case of vertebrates demonstrating that you're not actually whatever you were born for your entire life. It's not just the gametes you produce today. It's where you are right now is what matters. And
Mhm.
I realize that a lot of people like dismiss that humans aren't fish. Well, by the law of monophily, humans are fish, fucker. But also, no, the point, the reason it matters is because if you're born as a male clownfish, then by their reasoning, you'll always be a male. But that's not how that works. For there to be female clownfish ever
Mhm.
requires a transition. Like that, there are no born female clownfish. You have to become one. And the fact that there are animals, vertebrate animals even, I've made a big deal out of some of the plants that change sex. That happens too. But vertebrate animals that can change sex, holy shit. It blows people's minds. You know what else blows people's minds? Cosmic Kyle. Not just because he sent a super sticker, although I very much appreciate that. Thank you, Kyle. Looks like little hardy things. It's neat. But Kyle's photography, which is, dare I say, out of this world.
Definitely.
Kyle, as you may know, you may know if you've been here a minute, Kyle does some of my favorite astrophotography. Short of like a space telescope, fucking amazing stuff. So make sure you check out Kyle's goodies. Yeah, all sorts of things. Right-handed Sith says frogs can change as well in an environment with way too many of one sex. Yes, yes, definitely.
Okay.
There's a few different. I'm far from knowing all the species. Like some of our friends who seem to know like the species name for every species, which is fucking incredible. But there's some lizards. There's I believe there's some reptiles, or maybe it's amphibians, or maybe both, who the sex of the critter at birth depends on the temperature of the egg, right? Like
Oh,
I think,
yeah.
yeah.
Sea
It's not
turtles.
genetics.
Sea
It's
turtle,
not.
okay.
It's an external factor.
Yes.
And so that's a thing too. There's
It
there's
is
so much stuff.
reptiles too. Yeah.
Okay. I think it's various stuff like that may happen across a whole swath of species, because it's just, yeah, this whole idea that sex is determined by genetics, bit of a tangent, but relevant. Not true. Not even a little bit, right? Because we know from a bunch of different things, other species, from anomalies and disorders within our own species and all these various things, the genes don't actually command the cell the way programming commands the behavior of a computer. The genes, the chromosomes in the nucleus, they're more like a library where blueprints are kept, the blueprints to make parts, for lack of a better term, but not parts in the way the bigots might think. We're not talking like testes and vulvas and so forth, but like proteins and hormones. And that is the thing. There's the code for both the hormones and the hormone receptors. And in humans, it's the effectiveness of both that determine how your phenotypic characteristics develop. The genes don't actually control it. Presentation, phenotype, is several steps downstream from the genes. And things that are different along that mechanical pathway change the outcome quite a lot, which is why we have XY women who were born with an X chromosome and a Y chromosome and have fully functional uteruses, the ability to get pregnant, and have carried children to term. It's why we have XX men who have functional testicles. It's not the fucking genes. That's a database. Often, we don't know for sure because we don't actually karyotype most humans. We just assume. But often, there will be a relationship, a coincidence, if you will, of the genotype with a certain category of phenotype. But it's not actually directly causative. Oh, yeah. Dr. Kip says, but have you considered that human beings are special in God's sight? It's been presented a few times. But I gotta know which God though. Like which God and why should we consider what it thinks? Perhaps.
Yeah. What God?
Oh, yeah. All right. Let me see. Okay. So let's move on to our central thing. Bees.
Yay.
So this is actually the shortest one.
Bees.
So if we're going on a gametes only model, what the fuck are these? Because there's three kinds of bees, right? There's the queen, of course, who's obviously female because she lays the eggs. Large gamete, cool, female. We've got the drones, who are obviously male because they lack a stinger, as you know, most males do, and they fertilize the queen's eggs. So therefore, they're producing the sperm. Cool. What about the workers? We like to say they're female, but if we're going by gametes only, how do we make that determination?
Mm-hmm.
Very clearly, we do make that determination because they are female. But if biologists really made these determinations based on gametes only, then what the fuck is a worker bee?
Mm-hmm.
There's no way to do that determination. And yet we do, because it's not gametes only and never fucking has been. From a gamete only point of view, the bees would effectively have 3 sexes. So these people insisting on 2 sexes are showing us there can't be 2 sexes even in their own model. There's 3. There's male, female, and other. Or none, I guess. You know, it's such a weird thing. And it drives me a little bit batty because there's good intentioned people on the side of science who have still been misled by this argument. They're like, well, clearly it's actually male, female, both or neither, but the both and neither aren't additional sexes. They're deviations from this norm. Do you think worker bees are a deviation? They're an error in how bees work? They're kind of critical to bees working as a species, you know? What are your thoughts? Is I don't want to like lecture over y'all through this whole thing.
No, like yeah, it's like what would you call bees? That like it's this kind of stuff that I the way my mind works is I look at this, I'm like, oh, okay, yeah. So like there's obviously not 2 genders going on here. It's a spectrum. It's always been a spectrum. And I just don't. I get people do it for political reasons. I get people do it for religious reasons. But it's like, how can you sit there and just not, like, willingly not understand this? Like, this seems so simple. Like,
I think
it's a spectrum. Yeah. Easy. Done.
I think is that people just don't want to get outside of their own thinking process or what they were learned like in the 80s and the 90s, you know, because I was learning that stuff in the 70s, 80s. But then when I got to high school, we started learning about like the Turner system and the Twilight system, you know, different kind of, you know, I learned about different stuff. Oh, wow. There are different situations where it's not just man, woman, female. That's crazy. Yep. He got to get back in treats. But yeah, it just really gets to me. Like, you don't want to think, and like, off topic, that was like me when you found out Pluto wasn't really a planet. That was like my whole life Pluto was a planet. No, it's not. A lot of things that my grandma did for me medically, they said it's not good to do it anymore. Because research has been done.
That's another implication. While these former biologists who've delved into pseudoscience and conspiracy theories and shit, for them, it's political, it's ideological, but there's downstream consequences. Because the politics does make a difference. It's more than just this group I hate can't do a thing I hate when they do. It hurts everyone. When we start passing policies limiting who can get access to necessary medical care, like, the person mentioned earlier with both the beard and the ovaries, it's not related to your trans care, but fuck you, go die.
Exactly.
And I take that a little personally because I have several conditions that are very treatable, most of them fixable, that I can't get treated because people like me need not apply at the fucking healthcare centers. Like, tell me what my ears have to do with being a trans person or being an intersex person. I need treatment for my ears.
I don't know if anybody knows, but I do. My youngest is non-binary. And I won't say that I was, when they first came out, certain signs, they were like 5 or 6. And my thing, which was a stupid thing, is that I was angry because I thought that I failed. I want to put this the right way. So many words were on my mind. That I failed them, that they weren't happy with who they were. What could I do? Not understanding that was deeper than what I was thinking, but that was what I was thinking of. Like, I failed you because you're not happy with what you were born as. That was my thought process. Not that I was going to shame them or ever say, I disown you. I'll never do that. But I said, what did I do? And that was my process in the earlier days when I was a Christian and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I don't think that same way anymore, but it took a long time for me to get out of that.
Yeah. A lot of people have that expectation of things. Like, this is what I'm told is normal. Things are deviating from what I was told is normal. Clearly, I fucked up. No, you were lied to, bestie. You were lied to. Oh my god.
That's one of the advantages, though, of the fact that I lost my vape well over 20 years ago. I've always been far more on the liberal side of things, is that I was able to head off a lot of that with my kids, and a lot of like the thinking that I was grown up with or that they tried to kind of impose on me. I was able to make sure that was not, that didn't affect my kids so much. So that's one of the advantages of it, is I was able to raise my kids so they're way more accepting than I would have expected them to be otherwise.
Yeah,
if they were raised in that.
One big plus. It's such a weird thing. We're seeing such a evolution between, culturally speaking, between generation to generation. The millennials are way more progressive than the Gen Xers, and yet the Zoomers make the millennials look positively conservative. Like, I mean, it's impressive. I'm super proud of the kids for getting, more woke and more aware and more understanding as time goes on. I love to see it. It's a necessary thing if we want a stable fucking civilization ever. But I mean, it makes me wonder, like, how humans weren't always like that. Like, what the fuck? We know World War II was traumatic as hell. We know World War I was horrible. But how the fuck did we get to it's like culturally Stone Age, it's Neolithic, men strong, woman pretty, it's
Yeah.
I can't imagine there being generations before the Depression generation if this is the trajectory of awakening, like the speed with which humans are getting smarter socially. Where the fuck did we start? Clearly, that wasn't the starting point, is what I'm getting at, is something happened in the early to mid 20th century. Maybe it was leaded paint. Maybe it was leaded gasoline. Maybe it was blowing up a fuck ton of nuclear weapons on our own planet. But something seems to have made all human brains extra smooth for an entire generation, and all the previous understanding of the fact there are other ways to be human was lost. Now, of course, they weren't perfect, obviously. Slavery happened before the 20th century. Duh. But I just can't imagine it. It strikes me as there had to be some kind of cultural dark age that lasted for a generation or two. And we see it. It's not just gender. It's not just race. It's everything, like raising children, right? Because like there's that whole post-war era when you just beat children. You didn't teach them anything. You just beat them until they figured out somehow that they were by ESP, they're supposed to behave in a certain way that's also self-contradictory in a whole bunch of ways. Like, I grew up with the television as a babysitter. A lot of people did, because our parents had no idea how to be parents. Possibly because their parents didn't know how to be parents, so they had nothing to base their parenting on. I don't know how far back that goes, but there's no way it goes back to the dawn of time.
Yeah,
I don't understand. I don't know what happened.
Had a kid around something happened. We said to stay home by ourselves. Don't answer the door. Don't look at the door. But I was a latchkey kid. So yeah.
Yeah. I mean, in fairness, I know that sort of thing. Like, parents not being able to be home is a thing that's been going on for a while. Like, pit bulls. In New York City, it happens so frequently that both parents had to work and no one could afford childcare, that pit bulls became known as a Brooklyn babysitter. If you left your small child home with a pit bull, they might get into the cookie jar, but they would be alive when you get home, It's not great, but
the funny thing about that is that the American Kennel Association does not recommend pit bulls for guard dogs. Why? Because they are too friendly.
Yeah.
They're snuggle bugs.
I don't understand why people have such an issue with pit bulls. Yes, they have that weird adaptive feature where they can bite something and lock their jaw, and you have to kill them before they'll let go. Not even then necessarily. You have to, disassemble the jaw. But they're not, none that I've ever met anyway, is violent by nature. You can train them that way. But by nature, they're just humans' biggest fans, and they have the biggest fucking smile. Like, some dogs can smile. Pit bulls are like all smile. Maybe that's it. Maybe it's scary because all those teeth are visible.
They just big babies, and they need love. I miss my Callie.
I know. I miss my puppers from the past as well. And some dog is apparently having opinions about missing dogs too, or something.
Yeah, she looks all sad.
No, I miss you too.
Hi, Kim.
All right. Well, since we're on the sidetrack of dogs, let's talk a little bit about dogs in education. We'll take a quick break. and then we'll come back with Aunt Jer's slug sex.
Meet Kip, named after a biblical scholar. Holds 0 degrees, yet remains deeply authoritative. At Kip Academy, she teaches advanced disciplines like ethical trait distribution, comparative couch theology, and vigorous face licking. Questioning authority is encouraged. Not all treats are created equal. Each snack undergoes rigorous evaluation using the sniff, lick, and stare methodology. Some are rejected, some are accepted, some are declared non-canonical. Ask Kip about theology, ask Kip about life, ask Kip if you should go outside. She will not answer, but she will judge you. Kip, named for a scholar, correct about vibes.
I tried to get her up here for an appearance, and she just was not having it.
She's just
Slug sex.
I feel that. It's one of those days when I'm like, I'm just gonna be Claire and just be a voice on the screen. Like, oh my goodness. It's a thing. It's a thing. I know I'm like so expressive. Even in my tiny little box, which on many of you's devices is on a tiny little screen. I don't know. I feel like being the whole point of my channel is being visible is fucking important. Representation matters. I care a whole lot about a whole lot of things. I'm very pro science, but like I'm visible because it's necessary for people like me to be visible, you know? So I need to be visible. She will judge you.
She is very judgy. Like it cracks me up. Like I'll do something, like I'll walk in here and forget what I was gonna do, and I like look around for a second and try to remember, and she'll just be sitting there going. She does that to me all the time. It's nuts.
I know. I love how the dogs are clearly translating human gestures. Like they study us, they learn our body language so they can communicate with us better, because they may not be good at algebra, but socially they're much smarter than we are.
Oh yeah. What always gets me is like if I do something stupid or something, all 3 of my dogs will look at me and go do that little head tilt that dogs do, and I'm just like, stop it,
it's
guys.
not just dogs.
I know.
Cats do that. Birds do that. It's a body language gesture that transcends fucking, I don't know, phylum or something.
Yeah, you never feel more judged when you do something stupid than your dog tilts their head.
Getting all judgy. Yep. All right. One critter that will not judge you because they're too busy having sex is the slugs. So check this out. So I have photos of something similar, but not video. Yeah, they will go to a high place and they will make a slimy dangle, and then they will do the midair. For them, it's a vertical tango because they're usually horizontal, I guess. But like they're getting friendly. Oh my goodness. But yeah, that's how they do. They dangle from the slime. It's the same slime they make their trails from, but it's like different. Like it's the same secretion, it's the same chemical, but it's like the ratio of stuff to water is much, much thicker. So it effectively makes snot. It's like really thick snot. And they dangle and they rub their gonads together while they're doing the midair tango. It's so fucking wild. And if you can catch them at the right time of year, you'll see a whole bunch of them. They'll just all climb to a high place, tree branch, porches, whatever, and they'll all do it at once. They'll like all just drop, and then they'll wiggle until they swing, until they start making contact, and then but they're whores. They're such whores. Like once they're done with one partner, they'll disconnect and one of them will drop to the ground and the other will swing over and grab another partner. I'm like, that's so much effort, but like also they're having sex in midair, so and they have no bones to break, so if they fall, it's not that bad. So thank you, Andrew, for sending that. It's an adventure. It's so much fun. All right, I'm gonna interrupt birds and bees for the fishes in the seas, because the next thing I want to present to y'all is you know what? Let me see if I can find. I thought I had a picture. I'm so bad at preparing for shows. I do much of it. I'll like get some research ready when I schedule the thing, but then I'll pull up most of the stuff I need the morning of, and yeah. I thought I had a picture of this ready. Maybe I had it saved, but I didn't actually pull it up this morning. So whatever. Load. Okay. This is a random bluegill. Apparently this is a pumpkin seed, or possibly it's a crappie. The description is weird, but it came up when I searched for bluegill sunfish. And now we're getting ads. Of course we're getting ads. I can't click. Okay. I'm like, why is the no thanks button grayed out? That's fucking wild. All right. The reason we're looking at this critter is because in Joan Roughgarden's, rather, fantastic book, Evolution's Rainbow, she talks about an anomalous fish. A fish that lives near me. It's in Lake Cazenovia, near Syracuse, which is near me. And it's not the only place this fish lives, but it does live there. And this is not like an extreme outlier. This is just an example of the normal diversity across all species. But it's a cool example. So in the book, Joan writes, one sunfish species, the bluegill sunfish, has been studied in detail in Lake Oppinicon, Ontario, and Lake Cazenovia in upstate New York. Spawning males consist of 3 distinct size color classes, together with females, fall into 4 morphological categories corresponding to 4 distinct genders. Large males are about 17 centimeters long and 8 years old. Their gonads constitute 1% of body weight, and they have a light body color with a yellow-orange breast. Medium males are about 10 centimeters long and 4 years old. Their gonads are 3% of their body weight, and they have a dark body color marked with dark vertical bars. Small males are about 7 centimeters long at 3 years old. Their gonads are 5% of their body weight, and they have a uniformly light body color with neither a yellow-orange breast nor dark vertical bars. The testes may occupy most of the body cavity, crowding the stomach and displacing the intestines. Females are about 12 centimeters long and average 6 years old, making them larger than the medium males by about 2 centimeters and older by about 2 years. This is in breeding season. At breeding, females bulge somewhat with eggs. What a sentence. At breeding, females bulge somewhat with eggs. Whomst among us has not felt like we're bulging with eggs? I digress. Females have a dark body color with vertical bars like the medium males. And that's important. The medium males somewhat resemble smaller, younger females because of the similarity of the color pattern. The early spawning episode lasts only 1 day. Yeah. It's not a mating season, it's a mating day. In preparation, large males aggressively stake out territories next to one another in aggregations of 100 or more, called leks, at the bottom of the lake at a depth of about 1 meter. Large males are called on to defend their space against neighbors about once every 3 minutes. Large males make nests for eggs in their territories by scooping out a depression in the mud with their tails. Females aggregate at these locales with many males and do not visit isolated or peripheral nests. Females prefer nests belonging to large aggregations because the presence of many males affords more protection for the eggs from predators. The large males are not nice. Jones says they're not Mr. Nice Guy. Their acts of aggression include biting, ocular spreading, lateral displays, tail beating, and chasing. Although primarily directed at intruding males, aggression sometimes is directed at a female in the territory. Domestic violence, sunfish style. The male apparently tries to control the speed and timing at which a female lays eggs. Females simply leave if harassed too much this way. And this is good advice for females of every species. If the male harasses you too much, leave. Females arrive in a school, and one by one, they enter the territories of the large males. When a female arrives, the large male begins to swim in tight circles. If she's interested, the female will follow. Every few seconds, as the pair turns, the female rotates on her side and presses her genital pore against that of the large male and releases eggs that the male fertilizes. The egg release is visible as a horizontal dipping motion. So they're going around and around and around, and then bloop, that's an egg release. A female may spawn many nests. A large male accumulates up to 30,000 eggs from various females during this one-day spawning episode, or festival, you might say. A female lays about 12 eggs at a time with each dipping motion. So this total egg accumulation involves some female laying in the nest about once every 30 seconds. The scene is fast. Still, large males somehow find the time to enter the nests of neighbors, and about 9% of fertilizations in a nest are by a neighboring large male. I would offer contention that all this spinning and chasing, they get confused about which nest is theirs. And so they'll do a spin and a chase, and then they're like, I don't see my name on a nest. I'm not sure which one is mine. And so they'll go into a neighbor's territory and have to get chased back to their own. Meanwhile, the small males are active. They start at the borders between territories of large males and in the periphery, often close to rocks or in vegetation. The eggs remain viable in lake water for about an hour and sperm only a minute. So when the female releases eggs, the small males dart in quickly to release sperm over the eggs and carry out their own fertilizations for any eggs that haven't already been fertilized, because biology is a messy bitch and a lot get missed. The large males try to repel the small males from their territories, but the small males are more numerous than the large males, about 7-1 in shallow water colonies. Chasing all these small males, as well as the neighboring large males, and the occasional predator, takes a large male away from fertilizing eggs being laid in his territory. Often, he misses a lot. He's very busy. In these circumstances, the females spawn readily with the small males while the large male is busy with all his chasing. The girls don't care. They just need to lay their damn eggs. That's all they're here for. There are more small males in shallow water colonies than deep ones because there is more vegetation for cover, which is why they tend to do the thing at 1 meter. If you get too deep, it gets too dark and not enough veggies. It's more important to hide because predators such as largemouth bass, I can say words, largemouth bass, smallmouth bass, and pike, among other things, lurk in the lake. Thus, the ratio of small to large males depends on the surrounding environmental context. All in all, the small males seem to be the gender counterpart of silent bullfrogs, silent singing fish, which is weird. How can you be a singing fish if you're silent? And jack and part salmon, antlerless male deer, etc., etc., etc. The deer is another good one. Basically, it's a flavor of male who I'll spoilers, but the small males eventually turn into the large males. The weird thing about it is they're different morphological stages. They're different phenotypic, but genetically determined phenotypic genders because they reproduce differently. They behave in different ways. They do different things. They function as a entirely different component of this species. Much like clownfish.
Mm-hmm.
The males turn into female.
Nature is so cool.
In this case, the small males become the large males. They're still males, but that's not the point. They become a different, it's, you know what, it'll become clear as we get into the medium males. So the medium males, the third flavor of male, are really just surprising because no one knows where the medium male lives most of the time. They may school with the females. A medium male approaches the territory of a large male from above in the water and descends without aggression or hesitation into the large male's territory. The two males then begin the same courtship turning dance that can continue for as long as 10 minutes. In the end, the medium male joins the large male, sharing the territory that the large male originally made, and helps him defend it. Although the medium male sometimes joins the large male before a female has arrived, more often the medium male joins after a female is already present. So the large male makes little, if any, attempt to drive away the medium male, in contrast to the way the large male drives away the small males that dart into the territory. So when a female and two males are present, the three of them join and together carry out the courtship spinning, turning, mating thing. Typically the medium male, who is smaller than the female, is sandwiched between the large male and the female while the turning takes place. As the female releases eggs, both males fertilize them. Now, this is fascinating because from a axiomatic standpoint, a prescriptive standpoint, you've got two different morphs of males because they're fertilizing the eggs. But remember, this is a circular understanding. This is a very limited definition because we're saying if you release sperm, you are a male. That's circular because we're creating the category that we're asserting exists. You know, we're forcing this thing that doesn't fit into a category we made up to justify the category being all encompassing. It doesn't actually work. If you remove that presupposition, I suppose, that gametes must be either motile or not, effectively you have a different sex. It's the two males are not compatible with each other, but both are compatible with the female, but in different ways, because an egg fertilized by a medium male will only produce a medium male. An egg fertilized by a large male or a small male will never produce a medium male, but it could produce a small male who both the large and small males produce small males, which eventually turn into large males if they live long enough. So effectively, there's two distinct male sexes. They're males, but they're different sexes. There's three sexes here.
That's really cool, though. Yeah. And again, this is not to describe something as Dr. Roughgarden mentioned. There's similarities with a bunch of other things. Antlerless male deer and silent singing, whatever the fuck, singing for. There's a bunch. This is not one extreme fringe anomaly. This is just a demonstration of the vast diversity. When you set aside our insistence on our definitions controlling the reality of reality, creationist thinking, Younger thinking, which we just talked about the last 2 days, saying what I believe must be real and it's reality that's wrong, then you end up with this weird thing where you have to say these two clearly different sexes are the same sex because of an arbitrary criterion I want to point out. You know?
Yeah.
Like, what if we define sex by eye color? You know? Only blue-eyed people can reproduce other blue-eyed people. It's a fucking ridiculous. But if you, wherever you want to put your goalposts, you could. It's stupid.
Don't be saying that out loud, because that's exactly what they want. What they wanted. They're doing with the Nazis. That's what they want to do now.
Yeah, it's a whole thing. It's oh my goodness. All right. So we may come back to a little bit more of that, but I really want to move on. People, a lot of the Colin Wrights, the Dawkinses, they'll be like, sure, fine. Some vertebrates. I mean, they won't ever fucking concede because they're not interested in fucking reality, but that's neither here nor there. But maybe some of their more reasonable audience members are like, fine. Even invertebrates, in fish, we've got multiple sexes, more than just two sexes. And it clearly has nothing to do with gametes. Okay. And to be clear, I'm not saying it has nothing to do with gametes. I'm saying that it's not gametes only and never has been. That's the thesis today. I do use a lot of colloquialisms, but people on the internet get awful persnickety sometimes. But now I want to move on to the birds because I want to make sure we get into the birds because we have the birds and the bees and the fishes in the seas. I want to do the whole thing. So, but first, I think we need to take a short break to remind us of what happens if the Dawkinses and the Colin Wrights and the Steven Pinkers and the Jerry Coynes get their way because their idea of a war on science involves an actual war on science. What that world might look like.
I have a problem with this stuff being normalized across the spectrum. And specifically, like, why push this on kids? Why introduce this to kids?
It's better because it's better.
How, though?
Yeah, because it's better.
Can you make an argument for
Sure,
it?
because it's better.
In what ways?
The ways in which it's better.
I am a depraved wretch. I am a great sinner. I'm a worm, completely undeserving of any love or any grace. I'm nothing.
You're incapable of being a good person. You're an evil person. You're a terrible person. At the core fabric of who you are. That's why we need laws. We need laws because we're bad people. All of us are bad people.
You can't spell Pride Month without demon. PRIDEMONTH.
If we don't know who the women are, because there are just people, then we won't be able to pull the women up to equality with men.
We have to try to limit the harm. And that means reducing or keeping down the number of people who transition. And that's for two reasons. One of them is that every one of those people is a person who's been damaged. But the second one is every one of those people is basically, a huge problem to a sane world.
Transgenderism must be eradicated.
Carl, that kills people.
The LGBT, transgender, grooming our children's minds is a national security threat. We need to hold people for treason, start having some public hearings, and start executing people.
I will use whatever gives me victory. I don't care about the truth, and I don't care about the law. I care about one thing, the control.
But then they rigged the election, and now we won, so I'm going to be your president.
Then what happened is they rigged the election, and I became president, so that was a good thing.
I agreed with many things you said during, in fact, probably more than most other candidates when you were running for president, but I still would not have voted for you because you're an Indian.
I just want to say I feel good about the Republican Party. I feel good about where we're going as a nation. We're killing all the right people and we're cutting your taxes.
It was actually a tremendous blessing to these children for them to be killed and go to heaven and be with God.
If they die, they die.
How about we all come together and say, let's stop attacking pedophiles.
Stop letting people pressure you into thinking.
I want to be ignorant, honestly.
Being a Christian doesn't exclude us from experiencing spiritual dryness.
We're bad people. All of us are bad people.
Oh, hey, I forgot there was another biologist who turned into a conspiracy theory fella in that mix. Whoops. Say lovey. All right. Right. There says I want to see his reaction when Ann Coulter says, because you're an Indian.
I know.
Oh, He was stone faced though, but yeah, it's like, yeah, that's exactly
He's
what
a
I expected.
pushover.
This is
That's pretty
this
nicely. He's a pushover.
Well, he knows he's campaigning for white supremacy, so of course he's going to get some white supremacy all over his face.
Mm-hmm.
It's as he might put it, it's the cost of doing business. I know my accent is terrible, but my accent is always terrible. Yeah, it's I can't pronounce things. I'm American. We don't do words. So this is my good friend, the white-throated thrush, sparrow.
It's pretty.
Not a thrush, a sparrow. Like I just said, I can't do words. Words are hard.
How are they related
right,
to boobies, though?
There's always.
Not blue-footed.
And I guess it might have been in a couple other black families that whenever a sparrow enters your house, that means that somebody's about to die.
Okay, so this is an interesting story. I came across the story part first. This is a bird with 4 sexes.
Ooh.
A bird, not just a random vertebrate, not a fucking bird. Okay, so I came across the story first, and it turns out there's an article in Nature from many, many years ago about this specifically. Again, while this case is somewhat extraordinary, it's not like there's everything I've been showing today are just specific examples to exemplify the reality of biology, but they're not extreme outliers. They may, like this case, a bird with 4 sexes may be an outlier of what we've discovered so far among birds. But the point is to demonstrate there is a huge diversity in real biology that bigots being dogmatic about their presuppositions does not alter the reality of.
Mm-hmm.
So let's learn about this bird with 4 sexes, because it's pretty neat. When scientists Elena Tuttle, and this is from a podcast, a science podcast from an NPR station, I believe. I can't see which station it was from originally, but in any case, it's like an NPR kind of thing. So Elena Tuttle and Rusty Gonser sequenced the chromosomes of the white-throated sparrow. They noticed something funny, something that would help explain why the bird did what it do. So the Science History Institute has teamed up with the New York Times best-selling author Sam Kean to bring a second History of Science podcast to our listeners. This one is called, the thing we're reading from now is called The Disappearing Spoon, and it tells little-known stories from our scientific past, from the shocking way the smallpox vaccine was transported around the world to why we don't have a birth control pill for men. The topsy-turvy science tales, some of which have never made it into history books, are surprisingly powerful and insightful. And then there's credits and things. And that's similar to what we do here. It's not exclusively odd tales from scientific history, but I do love those things. So if you find any, do let me know. It may become a show because I fucking love them. It's great. All right, so the interview itself. The novel Slaughterhouse-Five seems irrelevant, right? Okay, follow here. It includes a strange conversation about sex. During it, an alien tells a human that on its planet, they have 5 separate and unique biological sexes. This Baroque system blows the human's mind. He grew up thinking about only 2 sexes, male and female. The thought of 5 staggers him. Well, what if I told you that biologists have discovered a species similar to that alien's? And not on some distant planet, but right here on Earth. It's not humans, although we'll get to that. It's a type of bird with 4 separate sexes. Fittingly enough, the discovery was made by a husband and wife team, 2 biologists who had their own sad love story. But during their last years together, they managed to unravel these birds' secret sex lives and demonstrate why birds and human beings even have different sexes in the first place. From the Science History Institute, this is Sam Kean and the Disappearing Spoon. Okay, it's just the whole transcript, apparently. This one's not edited for the web. It's just the whole transcript. Okay. The bird in question is the white-throated sparrow. It chirps. There's like stage notes chirping. I love this. This is great. Some birders describe this melody as, "Oh, sweet Canada, Canada, Canada." Others hear, "Oh, sweet Kimberly, Kimberly, Kimberly." Is it a white dress or a blue dress? Who's to say? It's a white dress. It's objectively a white dress. Never mind. Regardless, if you've ever been to Canada or the United States, you've almost certainly seen one of these critters in a backyard somewhere. They are crazy common, but it probably didn't make an impression. That's because the white-throated sparrow is pretty blah. It's short, it's plump, and while it has a nice touch of yellow around the eyes, it's mostly brown and gray. Pretty drab. Still, there is one feature you should pay attention to the next time you see one: the feathers on the head. Some of these sparrows have dull tan stripes on their head, while some have more flamboyant white stripes, like our friend pictured here. The white clearly visible. The yellow's a nice touch near the eye, but the white, that's a thing. That is a thing. Aunt Jura asks, did they split up because they were disappearing in their sex life after learning about the bird's sex life? Maybe. Can't rule it out at this point. But it probably, right. Pretty drab. White stripes, yes. When the biologists looked closer, they noticed something strange. The mating among the birds was very peculiar. In almost all cases, over 99% of the cases they studied, the tan-striped birds would only mate with the white-striped birds. You virtually never have a tan-tan or white-white coupling. How curious.
Yeah.
Now, there's no perfect definition of biological sex, but one definition involves what proportion of the population of a typical individual can and will reproduce with. In virtually all animal species, that's roughly half and half, so 2 sexes. But in white-throated sparrows, there are tan-headed males, tan-headed females, white-headed males, and white-headed females. Each group represents approximately a quarter of the population. It's a roughly even distribution, or 1 in 4. In other words, there are 4 separate sexes because a white-headed male will reproduce only with a tan-headed female, and vice versa. Yet, any coupling, any successful fertilization can produce any of those 4 kinds. So the species, the whole species, has 2 males and 2 females, but they're not compatible. Like, you have to get the right male with the right female and the right female with the right male, or you won't have a successful reproduction. Even though there's 2 different sexes with large eggs, they are different sexes. And there's 2 different sexes with small gametes, but they are different sexes. And sex A can only reproduce with sex B, and sex X can only reproduce with sex Y. That's it. But they can all produce all 4. 4 sexes. But there's more. There's more. Why the fuck do they do this? Why does this animal defy all the normal rules? Because the rules aren't rules. They're assumptions that we made by projecting our own understandings onto animals. But okay. Sapphire says you could say sparrows are chromosexual.
Yeah. You could.
Oh, goodness. Dr. Kip says it's true. Oh, Sweet Kimberly was the original Canadian national anthem. Some people thought that the strong focus on the small mountain town was exclusionary. Oh, my. I didn't know there was a small mountain town named Kimberly, but it makes sense.
Neither did I.
I didn't either. You learn something new.
I mean, if you go far enough in the U.S., you're going to find a town named everything. We've got intersex, or intercourse, rather. We've got intercourse, we've got blue balls. That reminds me, random tangent. I know people come here for the tangents though, so it's okay. One of my favorite random quickie truck driver stories is one time I happened to pull into a truck stop in southeastern Pennsylvania. I was probably picking up cars at the Philadelphia port or something like that. And I'm like getting my coffee, as one does. And the cashier rings up the coffee and says, how did she phrase it? Something like, is there anything else I can help you with? And I just could not resist. I said, why, yes, I'm looking for intercourse. Can you help me with that?
Oh my God.
I know she must get it 1,000 times a day, and I almost feel bad, except I cannot resist bad jokes like that. I'm pretty sure, though, she did actually give me directions. She did. She was very helpful. She saw the earnestness in my face and took me at face value. And so she did give me directions. But I am pretty sure if I followed those directions, I would have wound up in blue balls. Because, as I said, I'm sure she hears that joke 100 times a day. That's what I would do if I were the cashier.
She was sending you to like a whole sleazy motel where you could pick up some. You know, could be either one.
I don't know.
You didn't know which one you wanted. The town or the town.
It's like a thing that you have to do. Like if you drive past the Iowa 80, you just have to go into the truck museum, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think about how we used to have to do that. We have to go to gas stations. That's for directions. If we got lost. And half the time, some of them didn't even know what they were looking for. Do you know what such a road is? And
I've had
they wouldn't even know.
Such a bad time with gas station directions. So like in 1999, I as many of you know, I still am a huge nerd, but I was a Magic the Gathering flavor of nerd, and Magic the Gathering was fucking huge. And being the tism-brained person I am, I just rules. I break rules like crazy, but I learn rules really thoroughly, you know? And
You
so
can't
I
break them
knew
if you
the
don't know
rules of
'em.
Magic. What's that?
I say you can't break them if you don't know them. You have to know
Well, you
what you're
got to know
breaking.
what you can get away with. But with a
Mhm.
game like Magic, you need to know what your opponent can get away with too, so they don't screw you,
Mm-hmm.
because they're all dirty cheaters. In any case, I was competing in Pro Tour New York, and so I needed to get to Pro Tour New York, and I knew it was actually being held in Secaucus, New Jersey. And so I drive all the way to New Jersey. I need gas. Turns out, fun fact, some of you know, but some of you don't. New Jersey, you're not allowed to pump your own gas. It's not, full service is not an option. It's not an additional service. It's mandatory by law. You will go to jail if you try to pump your own gas. So I have to let this dude pump my gas, and while he's at it, I'm like, hey, by the way, could you tell me how to get to Secaucus? And he just kind of looks at me and he goes, I think it that way. And I'm like, I don't know, something set off my sus detector. So I look at my buddy that I'm traveling with, and I look back at the dude, and I'm like, could you tell me how to find New Jersey? And he goes, I think it that way. Right. We're like, 40 miles into New Jersey. We're in New Jersey right now. Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
alas, language barrier. I know. I don't hate the dude. He's doing what he got to do. But like, the point is, gas station attendants are not necessarily the best source for directions.
No, not at all. Because I sure got lost with them, telling me the street was left and right, wherever it was, and that was not the way to go.
When I worked at a gas station right after I got out of the Navy. Like, that was my first job back, because it was a quick, easy job to get. You walk into a gas station, say, hey, you hiring? Sure am. Here's your hat. Get behind the register. It's like, Super easy, barely an inconvenience. So I worked at a gas station, and occasionally I'd get asked for directions. And, sometimes if the person, seemed like a nice person, I'd give them directions to the best of my ability. But if the person was an asshole, I'd send them interesting places.
Because you're the asshole.
So I'm the reason you can't trust gas station directions.
To think about it, I think I did come to your gas station one day. I'm just playing.
Oh my. I saw Leavenworth in the chat. Aunt Jer and Kip are talking about beautiful towns. Aunt Jer mentioned that there's a Bavarian cosplay town in Washington called Leavenworth. That made me think of, well, two things. Leavenworth Penitentiary, which is where they're constantly threatening to throw you in the Navy, but also, like, you're not going to the brig, you're going to Leavenworth, But also, it makes me think of Letchworth, which is a different word, but a similar word, which is a beautiful state park here in New York, where there's like 3 big fucking waterfalls. They're not Niagara Falls falls, but we also have Niagara Falls falls, but they are very, very pretty. So that's neat. Anyway, I am tangent. I warned you all when we started that my brain is misfiring left and right. I've had a rough few days.
Yeah, it happens.
Yeah.
We're doing a show. I am successfully on the air.
Speaking of doing a show, I have a show right after this called Politicality, and I need to go eat and do a couple other things before I jump on there. So join us over there after this.
We ain't gonna watch that political show for that little Trace person.
We have a special guest on it. We have Lucy Hayes coming on. So and next Thursday we have a special guest too, which will be Seth.
Me.
That'll be interesting.
Me.
Oh yeah, it'll be neat.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
Lucy
I will see you guys
is
later.
one of the
Thank you.
people in the beginning.
Yeah.
So toodles, Lil.
All right. Bye, guys.
I love you.
Love you too.
In that count in my countdown, if you see the show from the start ever, in the countdown, there's a section where people start saying my name, and Lucy is one of the people who says my name. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, she's a trans Jewish woman from Poland, and so she's like representing a whole bunch of demographics.
Yeah.
And she also covers Ukraine issue. You know what? You'll hear the whole intro over at Joe's. So yeah, stick around and this stream will take you over there afterwards. But I digress. Digressions upon digressions. It's Letchworth. It's Letchworth, like a lecher, as in a lecherous bastard who wants to sleep with it. I'm not making it much better, am I? But it is a different thing. All right. So why does this animal have different rules? Why does it have 4 sexes? Well, until the Tuttles came along, nobody knew that they did that, because the Tuttles were the ones who behavior and found this weird mismatch. So Tuttle grew up in Massachusetts in the 1960s. She was one of the kids who was always splashing around in ponds and streams and knee-deep muck, and she ended up going to graduate school in ecology in upstate New York. We do have some pretty cool schools for that, such as, I don't know if this is where she went to school, but SUNY ESF, the State School of Environmental Sciences and Forestry, ESF. It's literally forest ranger school, but also a fuck ton of biologists go there. It's neat shit. Anyway, I digress. In graduate school, she met a fellow graduate school student named Rusty Gonzer, and they soon fell in love and got married in 1994. Eventually, Tuttle and Ganser both became professors at Indiana State University, 2-for-1 deal. You hire one professor, you get the other, so they can live together and shit, where they shared an office. Ooh, that school is really saving on budgeting by hiring married couples. But something about upstate New York kept tugging them back. Each summer, they'd pack their car and drive to Cranberry Lake near the Canadian border. The trip took 13 hours, and reaching their cabin then required an additional 45-minute boat ride after that. But the isolation didn't bother them. By day, they studied the white-throated sparrows near Cranberry Lake, trudging through the woods. Then they spent quiet nights alone on the water. They returned to idyllic Cranberry Lake every summer for a quarter century. Eventually, they tackled the big puzzle of the white-throated sparrow. Why the flamboyant white-striped ones mated only with the dull tan-striped ones? What was going on? Luckily, in the early 2000s, DNA sequencing became a thing we could do, which allowed the Tuttles to peek at the sparrow's chromosomes. Now, chromosomes, as you may know, I'm reading off a transcript here. So chromosomes, as you may know, are long strings of DNA inside cells that contain the genes, usually a few hundred genes to a few thousand genes. Importantly, and this actually is important for this later, so animals have pairs of analogous chromosomes, most animals. For instance, humans have 23 pairs. There's 2 chromosome number 1s, 2 chromosome number 2s, and so on. White-throated sparrows have 40 pairs, so 80-ish total chromosomes. This count includes the sex chromosomes. In mammals, males are usually, but not always, XY. Females are usually, but not always, XX. To oversimplify, things get much more complicated. Birds have a similar system, except the chromosomes in their case are called Z and W. Because you shouldn't let scientists name things. Now, to get DNA to study, Tuttle and Gonzer harvested sparrow sperm, which is rich in DNA. As for how they got sparrow sperm, well, as Ganser once said with pride, my wife was the best bird masturbator I ever met. And how could you not love a person like that? Regardless, when Tuttle and Gonzer sequenced the chromosomes of the white-throated sparrows, they noticed something funny. Part of chromosome 2 in the birds was inverted, which is to say, flipped around. In most birds, the genes on chromosome 2 are arranged in a certain order. Let's say, for example, it's gene A, gene B, gene C, and so on. But in these sparrows, the alphabet ran backwards at a certain point. Instead of LMNOP, it went PONML. Now, inversions like this do happen in chromosomes sometimes, even in humans. But the inversion in the sparrows was on a whole nother level. Usually, just a few genes get inverted. In this case, over 1,000 got flipped, which is an unusually large amount. This turned out to be a big clue in the mystery of why the sparrows had 4 sexes. Unfortunately, just as they found this clue, tragedy struck. One day in 2011, Tuttle scheduled a routine mammogram. She walked into the clinic, a seemingly healthy woman, and walked out with a breast cancer diagnosis. That completely blindsided her, as is often the case. But she fought through it. She got a mastectomy and started chemotherapy. She refused to stop doing science. She kept making the 13-hour drive to Cranberry Lake in between chemotherapy sessions. After a year of struggle, the cancer gave up and went into remission. She beat the cancer down, folks. Her body was clear. But all the while, she and Gosner kept working on the sparrows. Remember, they had that one big clue, the inverted genes on chromosome 2. But what did it mean? Well, that was actually a problem with many DNA studies at the time. Scientists had gobs of data. Some of it was a little sticky, but gobs of data. And they initially thought that the gobs of data would instantly correlate to, say, cures for diseases. Yes, Tommy says fuck cancer. Damn right.
Yep.
Perfect design, folks.
Yep.
Okay.
Perfect.
The problem is genetic data tells you very little by itself. You still have to correlate that DNA data with clinical disease symptoms or behavior in the real world or functional anatomical features. It takes a lot of work. So luckily for them, Tuttle and Gonzer had been studying the white-throated sparrows for a quarter century, making detailed observations. So they could indeed correlate that odd inverted DNA with actual behaviors in the wild. As mentioned, some of these sparrows had flamboyant white head stripes, and it turns out that the white-striped ones engage in flamboyant behaviors as well. For one thing, the white-striped ones sing much more often, and they sing much more loudly. For another, the white-striped males and females are both super aggressive about defending their territory. If any other bird flies by, they let them know that the space is occupied. Moreover, the flamboyant white-striped birds are promiscuous. They cheat on their partners all the time. The white stripes are lousy parents. When their eggs hatch, they rarely bother feeding chicks. The white stripes could not survive on their own. Meanwhile, the dull tan-striped sparrows are in fact kind of dull in their personality too. They're quiet, stay-at-home types who rarely sing. They don't really do much when their white-striped partners are out picking fights or cruising for strange. All that said, the tan stripes do take much better care of their chicks and actually take the time to feed them, which is probably a good plan. So each variety of tan stripe and white stripe has its pluses and minuses, and I appreciate that they're using my phrase for their article. The tan stripes will keep the babies alive, which is kind of important for reproduction, but they won't go out and mate. They won't sing. They won't fight off predators. So they can raise the kids, but they won't survive alone.
Oh, wow.
And so this is a thing. We have two potentially diverging species, but they can't actually split because neither one functions on its own. So to have one functional species, you end up with 4 distinct sexes.
Wow.
In fact, these complementary behaviors explain the bird's odd mating system. The flamboyant white stripes would flame out as a couple because they're too alike. They cheat and fight and never feed the babies. But a couple consisting of 2 tan stripes wouldn't function either. Being stay-at-home types, they probably wouldn't meet in the first place. And they're terrible at defending their territory from other birds or predators or even ranging for food in hard times. Overall, then, having one aggressive white stripe and one meek tan stripe makes a good, effective household. It's like those human couples where one person is an impulsive spendthrift socialite and the other a quiet, contemplative wallflower. Their strengths and weaknesses can complement each other. And here's where everything comes together. The DNA work and the behavioral studies. Because Tuttle and Gonzer realized that those different behaviors among tan stripes and white stripes seem to spring directly from the inversion on chromosome 2. That chromosome happens to contain 2 genes, one that controls head stripe color and one that influences aggressive behavior. Apparently, both got mutated way back when during the inversion event, which led to birds that were both flamboyant and white-headed. And because they were both on the same chromosome, those genes get inherited together. Mother Nature does have ways to mix up genes, of course. We're not going to go into all the details for that right now, but this occurs through a process called crossing over. It takes place when the body makes the gametes in the first place. To understand crossing over, picture a pair of chromosomes. One is blue and one is red. Now, they're not actually blue and red, just imagine it that way. It makes it easier to visualize. So the pair of chromosomes looks like 2 skinny worms, a red worm and a blue worm. And during crossing over, the tips of the red worm and the blue worm touch. They form an off-center X. Then, as they're pulled apart, they break at the coil point. And so the tip of the blue one ends up on the red one, and the tip of the red one ends up on the blue one. They just yoink. Neat trick. It's like shuffling the deck of cards, and maybe one combination will be a full house, and that person will be way stronger. Cells use crossing over to dump multiple bad mutations onto a single chromosome and eliminate it from the gene pool. I mean, cells obviously not intelligent in the way we think of intelligence, but if you have defective genes, like a coding gene that does not produce a protein that does anything, then one of the reasons we have sexual reproduction is to take harmful mutations, useless mutations, things that are within the cell at least, non-functional or detrimental, and jettison them into the not gametes, as you may be aware. And I was talking about this before the show, I think. Every time we produce gametes, the germ cells go through two rounds of division. And so you'll take a normal cell and then you'll split it in half, gene-wise, and then it'll double its chromosome like cells do, and then you split it in half again. And for egg cells, at least, that's how you end up with a cell with so much cytoplasm and only half the genome. It's still able, it's alive, it functions, all the components of the cell work, but it can't develop into a human, you see. It's not stable like that long term, which is why you have to go through this division process before you actually like send out the gametes and things. You can't just have it be that way from birth because they won't last, you know? So you have to cook your eggs before you serve them, I suppose. And it's this process where you end up with discard cells, failed gametes, you might say. And we know that's used as a rejection or filtration process because we've seen in XY human women, for instance. Again, there are XY women with working ovaries, working uteruses. They ovulate, they reproduce perfectly normal. The way it happens is we've checked the leftovers, the rejects from the egg production process, and we found that while the eggs always contain an X chromosome, an X sex chromosome, the rejects are full of Ys. The ovary itself is XY, but it's found a way to reject the Ys from the egg production process so that only an X makes it into the uterus for fertilization.
Interesting.
It's pretty fucking neat. So yeah, all right. My mouth is very dry, so I'm gonna take another break.
Take a break. I'm gonna leave. I can eat my food. My son bought me, so.
Oh, hooray!
And spend time with my shits.
Oh,
she probably only wants me because I got food around. Because she kind of jumped up here, so there we go.
That's how it works sometimes. If there's food,
yeah, she just using me for my food. You're not gonna get any though, or my sub. Sorry.
Oh my goodness.
See everybody tomorrow.
All right. Toodles, Kelly.
Bye.
Everybody running away on me today. Oh goodness. All right. You know what? Let's do something a little silly. Let's do something a little weird. Let's learn about the majesty that is the banana.
Behold the atheist's nightmare. Now, if you study a well-made banana, you'll find on the far side there are 3 ridges. On the close side, 2 ridges. If you get your hand ready to grip a banana, you'll find on the far side there are 3 grooves, on the close side 2 grooves. The banana and the hand are perfectly made one for the other. You'll find the maker of the banana, Almighty God, has made it with a non-slip surface. It has outward indicators of inward contents: green, too early; yellow, just right; black, too late. Now, if you go to the top of the banana, you'll find, as with the soda can makers, they placed a tab at the top. So God has placed a tab at the top. When you pull the tab, the contents don't squirt in your face. You'll find the wrapper, which is biodegradable, has perforations. Notice how gracefully it sits over the human hand. Notice it has a point at the top for ease of entry. It's just the right shape for the human mouth.
What a guy. What a guy. That's Ray Comfort, who's pointing out the human developed, agriculturally produced banana as evidence of his preferred version of his made up mythological being. It's just, it's. Mindfinish Sock says, don't run away, remember. Like and share the stream instead. It does help. It does. Yes. Tavi says, now explain pineapples, Ray. Pineapple, the fruit that eats you back. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Oh, Andrew says Ray Comfort is not a serious person. And that's true. He's special. But I did do a video a little over a year ago, and I know it was a little over a year ago because part of the joke associated with the video was I built a website it was basically Ray Comfort's shtick, but applied to the Constitution. It was a whole thing. It's such a damn shame. I don't know why I keep making satire videos because they do not do well, but I built a whole website called Lying Waters, and there was like, you need to understand the truth of the author of the Constitution. I think I had like a single word term for it, but whatever, like your legal soul is at risk. I don't know. Don't mind me. I'm just here. But I think that video is, because no one watched it, I think it's a members only video now. So if you're a member, that may be one of the perks. You can go watch that parody of Ray Comfort I made. Oh my. There's a bunch of members only content. Member exclusive stuff. And yeah, so if you're a member, just saying, there's perks. There's perks that come with membership. It's not just supporting the channel and helping me afford food. You also get goodies. Okay, anyway. That's my capitalism for the moment. I'll do flags another time. Once I finish the Q flag, of course, I'll show you guys once I have a finished product, but then I'll start trying to make an ad so I can play an ad about the flags. And that'll be cool, running an ad for my own thing. But also, I'm still experimenting with the micro sponsorship program because I'm very tiny. Creators who want the ability to do sponsored content and also like make a little bit of cash. I'm like creating discount codes basically. If you want in, let me know. I'll make you a discount code. And if people use your discount code, it'll probably be for like $1 off on an item kind of thing. That's what I have set up so far for everybody who's opted in. When I see someone's used your discount code, then I will also send you like $1. I don't have high profit margins. So it'll be like $1 off. And then I'll know they used your code. And then I'll send you $1 when I get paid the following month by the manufacturer. I'm making it sound way more complicated than it is. If you want in, I'll give you a discount code. And then you'll get paid for sales that your code get used for. The exact same way discount codes always work. So let me know. Anyhow, I'm going to end up making specialized ads with everyone's discount codes, aren't I? I'm going to make this great ad and everybody will be like, I'd love to run your ad, but please put my discount code on it. So I'll have to make a specific one for each person. Anyway. All right. So we've got like 20 minutes left. So I need to move things up. So here's the rub. Chromosomes are very careful about crossing over events. They notice that the genes aren't in the right order from A to Z. They will not cross over. It's like a quality control sort of thing. So remember, in these sparrows, a huge chunk of chromosome 2 is inverted. It's backwards. It's in the wrong order. So as a result, the genes A through Z are wrong. So in these birds, chromosome 2 refuses to cross over. The white stripe mutation and the more aggressive mutation, therefore, stay linked. They cannot be separated by a crossing over event. And here's the payoff to it, where the light bulb must have gone off for Tuttle and Gonzer, because there's one other pair of chromosomes in animals that do not cross over. Can you guess what? Yes, it's the sex chromosomes. So chromosome 2 in these birds specifically has become another sex chromosome. It doesn't determine the gametes you produce, but it does determine your ability to sexually reproduce with a compatible partner. And like the pre-existing sex chromosomes, it does not cross over. So if you want to take it to the genetic level, you can back that up. These birds have the Z and W chromosomes, but they also have sexually distinct chromosome 2s on a separate axis of sex. So you've got Z, I don't know, let's say A and B for whitehead, tanhead. So you've got ZA, WA, ZB, WB, because you've got two different sex chromosomes. Not effectively, actually. It's fucking wild. So long ago, the X and Y sex chromosomes in mammals were probably just two normal chromosomes. They crossed over and put red tips on the blue chromosomes and vice versa, which is why we have X chromosomes today with SRY genes on them, and Y chromosomes that don't have SRYs, and all the other genes associated. I realize I'm skipping a lot. For anybody who's new, first of all, please subscribe, because we do this kind of thing every fucking weekday at 11 a.m. Eastern. We're here all the time. I put a fuck ton of work into these. So, please join us, tell your friends, but also subscribe. All of these things help ever so much. And the longer I stay alive, the longer I can keep doing these. And I say that facetiously, but it's literally true. This is my source of income. This is how I afford food, because I can't get a job for a bunch of reasons, all of which go back to transphobia. So, please help. Help me make more of these and survive doing this. Anyhow, right, something happened with the sex chromosomes. Bird sex chromosomes, same thing. Long ago, one suffered an inversion and crossing over became impossible. And over time, Z and W became different chromosomes. But the white-throated sparrows go beyond even this. The changes on chromosome 2 has effectively doubled the number of sex chromosomes from 2 to 4. And the result is 4 distinct sexes. And this is exciting for two reasons. One, the process of how mammals got our X and Y chromosomes is mysterious because it took place so many millions of years ago. But the situation with the sparrows is happening right now. We can actually watch sexual differentiation happening, which could teach us more about our own heritage. The second reason for excitement is this. Normally, we think about sex differences and barriers to reproduction in terms of anatomy. Females can't reproduce because they don't have the right parts. Same with males. But the emergence of the new sexes in the sparrows doesn't involve anatomy per se. Anatomically, whiteheads could still mate with whiteheads of the other traditional sex. And the tanheads with the tanheads, because the parts, the physical gametes do still fit. But instead, the reproductive barrier here involves behavior. It's still driven by genes and chromosomes, but it's behavior that's segmenting the population and giving rise to the third and fourth sexes. These sparrows expand our notion of what biological sex even is. And to me, that's why this bird is so fascinating. Traditionally, scientists thought about biological sex in binary terms, male or female, and that's that. But now we understand that's far too simple. There are, even in humans, intersex people who don't conform to that binary. What's more, psychologists also know that above and beyond the biology of sex, there's something called gender, which is quite different from sex, and it plays a very big role in reproduction. And also, humans aren't the only ones to experience that, either psychologically or in phenotypic changes. Clownfish, phenotypic change, functional change. The lionesses that we've talked about many times before. So again, if you're new, because every video is somebody's first video, we've observed lions, both in captivity and in the wild, who turn out to actually be female. Their sex chromosomes are female, but they have big old fucking manes. They act just like the male lions. We've even seen them transition. They may start out as a lioness, and then suddenly they start acting like the male lions, and then a mane grows and their physiology shifts. They get the bigger forward muscles and this. They'll mate with lionesses. They transition. And in a way, they're kind of superior to humans because they don't need a physician's help. They just do it. Now, of course, there's some kind of physiological process we haven't pinned down yet, but there's some kind of physiological process. It's pretty fucking neat. It's not just humans that display these nuances. Anatomy is part of the sparrow's 4 sexes, certainly. You can't escape that, but behavior is equally important. And that's really, really, really true. Because, like, if you have all the bigots like to talk about, if you put an island full of gay people and come back in 100 years, they'll all be dead because they won't reproduce. Well, maybe, but here's the thing. Gay people can reproduce. They just don't mate with people of the opposite sex. So if you take an island with 50 gay men and 50 gay women, they could reproduce if they wanted to, but behaviorally, they're not attracted to each other. Between groups, that is. Bloody hell. So yeah, it's bigotry. It makes you very stupid. In fact, I should just do a video based on that. I should just take clips from this episode and other episodes like it and just title it, Bigotry Makes You Very Stupid. As of now, biologists don't know of any other animals with 4 sexes, but that might be because they haven't looked. Most birding books describe the white-throated sparrow as a common bird. In truth, it's anything but. It's quite extraordinary. Elena Tuttle and Rusty Gosner finally published their research explaining the 4 sexes of the white-throated sparrow in 2016. Tuttle described it as her pinnacle paper. It would also be her last. In 2013, Tuttle came down with a case of bronchitis and visited her doctor. Once again, she walked out of the clinic with a far bigger problem than she'd entered with. Her breast cancer had returned in her lungs. She kept fighting anyway. She kept working on the sparrows. She even made a few less trips to Cranberry Lake. But eventually, she simply couldn't do it anymore. When she finally realized she would never make another trip to the lake, she broke down crying. I feel like crying now, damn it. Elena Tuttle died at age 53 in November of 2016. Nowadays, her husband Rusty still makes the trips to Cranberry Lake, listening to the sparrows call to their mates. Oh, sweet Elena, Elena, Elena. Rusty isn't alone, though. He still has a little bit of Elena with him in the form of their son, who was a teenager when she passed away. And to the eye, the son looks an awful lot like his mother. The word is, he's a bit of a science nerd as well. Humans might not have the fancy reproductive scheme of the white-throated sparrow, but ours can still do some pretty amazing things. Sapphire says, stick 50 straight men alone on an island and come back 100 years later and see how many people are left. For real. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. All right. So I was hoping, because as you know, I chronically over-prepare, I was hoping to get to the actual Nature article that they published, which, you know, Nature has a catchy name, but it is an actual journal. It's like one of the top shelf journals, right? Getting published in Nature is a big fucking deal. And they were published in Nature number 539 in 2016. Elena Tuttle spent her life trying to understand the bizarre chromosome evolution of a common bird. Amazing. Where's okay, that's not actually the Nature article. That's an article about the Nature article. Well, that's less helpful in any case. But there is a cool graphic from the Nature article that's reprinted. This is probably going to be tiny on your screen, but it's pretty neat. Can I get closer? Okay. So the graphic. The white-throated sparrow, common in eastern North America, has either white or tan stripes on its head. The white striped male, the white stripes mate only with tan stripes and vice versa. Why these two morphs behave so differently was a long-standing puzzle. So the white stripe, male or female, because here's the thing, whether you produce eggs or sperms is less important than your chromosome 2 sex chromosome. It's interesting. Aunt Jer says some gay people have the desire to reproduce as well. It's true. I know lots of gay people who've either borrowed some sperm so one of them could become pregnant, or borrowed a uterus, not just necessarily for surrogacy, but also for the egg part. Like, often gay men and gay women will work together to produce gay babies, which is a weird thing to say. But yeah, they'll be like, let's trade components and then we can all have babies, kind of thing. But also some people are bisexual, and some people just want to raise children and don't really care if it carries their genetic legacy, which is super useful because, as many of you know, that's a long tangent that I am not prepared to get into. Suffice it to say, in summary, I've had to track down a gay couple who really, really wanted a baby. Yeah, I'll just leave it at that for today. So yeah, the white stripes, more promiscuous, poor parental care, aggressive, and very tuneful. It says tuneful. They sing. They're very loud. They sing along. They're all about life, music, and mayhem, and getting laid. But not so much with taking care of the babies. And the tan stripes tend to be more monogamous. They're good at parenting. They're more protective, but not defensive. And they can't carry a tune. They suck at singing. Which is weird that, like, the singing thing would also be linked to, it's on this whole chromosome 2 string, because, like, bird song is critical to how bird brains work, right? Like, this is a whole thing that we don't have time to get into, but suffice it to say, our brains are structured to process, I suppose you might say, in a linear fashion, right? It's like piece to piece to piece to piece to piece, whereas bird brains are more nodal. There's a central point, and a thing will spread to multiple related spheres of thought, for lack of a better term. I'm oversimplifying crazily, but like, it's more like parallel processing in different regions, and then all the processing comes back together into the center. And like, bird song, I don't know how to describe it. It's related. I'll just leave it at that. We don't have time to get into the details. Maybe we'll do a whole episode on that sometime. Maybe not a whole episode. I don't know. We'll see. We may end up with a potpourri episode where I do like 10 minutes on this and 15 minutes on that. In fact, maybe I should do that, because while I appreciate everybody who stops by to watch, to click the like button, to subscribe, to occasionally throw money, I very, very much appreciate it. The fact of the matter is, a lot of people watch for 20 minutes in the middle and miss the whole thing, Say la vie. I'll take the view, but by having it be like 10 minutes covers this and 10 minutes covers this, I may get more of the video watched, I suppose. I don't know. Anyway, so yeah, chromosome 2, an ancient mutation inverted a large section of chromosome 2, creating a super gene. Da da da. The inverted region is unable to exchange genetic information with its partner chromosome, so mutations accumulate. The chromosomes diverge, driving different behaviors. This is thought to mirror the process by which mammals and birds created their sex chromosomes independently but identically in the distant past. Mwahaha. So it says like having 4 sexes. No, they have 4 sexes. They have 2 different flavors of gametes, but they have 4 sexes, because gametes are not the only factor in sex. And that is today's central thesis. Gametes are not, cannot be, and have never been the sole determining factor in sex. Today, we have talked about so many different critters. The birds and the bees, and the fishes in the seas. The bees, in a gametes-only model at the very beginning, they have either 3 sexes, 3 distinct sexes, or gametes aren't the thing that determines sex. The bigot biologists, the former biologists, Richard Dawkins, Colin Wright, Jerry Coyne, the other guy, I almost feel bad. I can never remember his damn name. He's just not that important. Anyway, these guys, they want to insist on gametes only as their definition for sex for bigoted reasons. And this is the important thing that I really, really, really need people who care about truth, who care about science, and who care about being good allies or humanists generally to understand. The only people who say gametes only either are doing so for bigoted reasons or have been led to think so by people who are saying so for bigoted reasons. There are really, really good people out there who legitimately think this because they've been misled by people who lie to them for bigoted reasons. If you're spreading hate and propaganda and just things that aren't true with good intentions, but misinformation that's out there in the service of white supremacy and other kinds of bigotry, you're still spreading the white supremacist bigoted propaganda, even if you didn't intend to. So please, 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 when you see someone saying, the science is clear, there's only 2 sexes, send them this video, have them come talk to me. Don't say, hey, you're spreading Nazi propaganda, because that'll make them defensive. But maybe like low-key point out to them, that's actually not true. That's very not true. And we've known it for fucking ages. Thank you all so much for joining. I'm going to send y'all over to Joe's for Politicality with Joe, Lil, and Lucy Hayes. It should be a ton of fun. But thank you all so much for being here. I appreciate it very, very, very much. And as always, remember, you don't have to pretend reality fits your description of things because you're not infallible, because you are better than conspiracy theories, flat earth, young earth, or biology denial and religion. Toodles. Mwah. Thanks to all our patrons and top-level members for February. Miranda, Karen Butcher, Jimmy Tux, Ian Chen, Maya Adkison, Jessica the Transmetal Alchemist, Robin Webster, Lilith, Ember Lynn, The Barely Bearable Atheist, Eric Wander, Jason Jacoby, Liliball Trades, Deviant Outcast, Secular Feelinist, Kelly King, the Detroit Atheist Queen, Geo Sam, Thriver Scapegoat, The Godless Engineer, Why? Because Weed Bro, Katie Bluebird, and Fro from Norway. And you can add your name here next month by signing up at patreon.com/betterthanember or by joining Emberships here on YouTube at the Cinder level, which also includes all the custom emojis, tons of member-exclusive content, member-only live streams, and a bunch of other stuff. I deeply appreciate all the supporters who keep this channel going. Thank you so much. Because of you, we're building a wonderful community that I'm very proud of.